everyone, it's Sue with Ully Cat's Designs and Ully Cat's World blog. And I have a process video for Craft Roulette episode 273. And the parameters were a ladies card, candy wrapper colors, camping element, and the random is belt. I'm going to be doing a card similar to the Craft Roulette's guest, Justine Dvorak, but I'm going to add some motion to it. So I'm going to be using Karen Burniston's Whirly Wheel. I'm going to use 2 of them to make a slimline card, and I'm also going to be using curved edges to get some of that sort of flame type things. I have cut 2 pieces of white 110-pound cardstock that is about 4 1/8 across and about 7 inches tall approximately. And I have scored one of them at 3 3/4. It's going to be that side. And then the second one I've scored also at 3 3/4, but again about 1/8 of an inch over. So one more slot on mine. So 3 7/8, so that I can kind of get a little bit of a ridge, because there's going to be a little bit of a pocket and I'll need that little sort of, almost like I should say, a gusset to make it work. And then for the back of my card, I cut 2 pieces of black that are 3 3/4 by 8 1/2. So that's going to be my total slimline card size. And then I've got 2 other pieces of black. One I cut at 3 3/4 by 7 inches, and then the other one I cut at 3 3/4 by 6 inches. Now one of them I've already taken my curved die and cut, but I kind of wanted to show you with the dies how I kind of figure out how far to go. So I think this is going to be my tallest piece. So when the dies are all together, the top of my movement piece will be right about there. I can always cut off the strip, but I would like this one to be a little bit lower. And again, so what I need to kind of note is here it is at its lowest position. So I need at least that much of a tab to make something work. But when it's up, it will be about that height. So I'll need to put this around that height. Now, when I put these together, I want my single score to be there, and that's going to be my tallest one. And my gusseted one will be on this one. And what I'd like to do it so I can cut through both of these in one pass. And I'm actually going to tape those 2 together so that things won't slip. So by taping all of this together, I can cut 2 things at once and they will match up. Now, if I had been really smart, I would have taped these 2 together, but as I was playing, figuring this out, so now we'll cut these out. I've got 2 strips of the heavy white cardstock, and I have taken my clear packing tape and I've put it on both sides of the strips. And from this piece, I'm going to cut 2 of the arms, and from this piece, I'm going to cut 2 of the wheels. So I've got my 2 wheels and my 2 arms cut out, and you'll notice, maybe you will see, I've got some wrinkles in my tape, but I've decided to put those facing up because I think that's where they will have the least amount of impact. Now I did, because it was thick cardstock plus 2 layers of tape, I did have to get my craft knife and scissors to help cut through a little bit of the die cut through the tape areas. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to line up my die with that, and I'm going to take one of my black ultra fine point Sharpies, and I am going to go ahead and color in the arrows on this piece. There's that one. And I want to make sure that you use your bone folder to kind of burnish the tape flat. I've put through the die cut machine 2 of the washer die, and you can take the X-Acto knife or you can take your scissors just to help finish cutting those out. So we'll need 2 of these washers. So the way the washers get put on is I'm going to attach them just like that. These little flaps just come up through the washer. As you can see, that spins very nicely. That's the way those go. And they go through on the opposite side. So all your tabs are going to be facing the one way. See, this is the way it goes. I got out my scoreboard and I just scored, it's about 1/8 of an inch down this one side. It's going to go along here, and that way it will just kind of help cover that little gusset. I wanted to do that now before we get too far into adding our extra panel. We're going to need to be figuring out, we want that to be probably about there. So this is where we will need to be putting our thumb die. So I'm lining up that straight, or the bottom part of that T, with the little tiny fold. Make sure that my 2 pieces of cardstock are not going to shift on me. Now, of course, the die is not going to cut all the way through there, so we're just going to snip that part off. We'll just double check that that's all good. Now we'll work on the other side. And we'll snip this one as well. I've used an 1/8 inch wide double-sided tape, and that needs to just go around. So again, we're using, since there's tape on this, we have to use tape. We can't use glue. You see this tab right here? You see the edge of this? You want that tab just to be covered, so that when it's going around, you won't see that, and also it won't become a catch point with that. We have our first panel done, and now we'll work on attaching our second one. And now, before I attach these side panels to this piece, I want to make sure to get that matched up, and we'll cut our 2 thumb holes. So now I'm going to glue my side panels on, and this is the gusseted one, so I'm only putting glue along the edge, not on the gusseted part, lining that up with the gusseted fold. And the other side. Now I probably should cut out of this one. I'll have to cut out of this one too. I usually don't like cutting when I've already attached things. Now you may notice that you can see the imprint of the whole mechanism and things. We're going to be covering this up with flames, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. I'm going to set our card base aside, and we're going to work on doing our flames. It's the last one that we've got to cut. So here's the final card base with all of the holes cut out. I've cut out my various layers for the flames to go over it, and now I just have to start gluing them down. So I've played around to get my front mechanism to have some flames that kind of shoot up. And here's what it looks like on the back. And you'll notice I've got my arm that decides where the piece should go. So we'll do that so we can see that. And this little piece here comes in the Ully wheel die set, and you just, it's got a little tab, and I'm going to take some temporary tape, have that, so you can kind of guess where the position is going to be. I'm going to try something about there. And remember, we still have a little bit, it's okay if the flames, so that's its highest point. And if we put the tip of that right where those flames are, so there is some room on that side. So if that's all the way over to there, we'll need to it does shoot up some. So I'm just about ready to install this back taller panel. And I've taken my red marker just to highlight the red background so we won't have white showing. Then I've taken 1 millimeter thick foam tape and I've put that around the edges, making sure that none of this is going to catch. And now we'll just install it. This is where we have to figure out why it's catching. It's catching on the back here. Okay, so it's catching right there. What we may need to do is just trim off all of those sketch points. So learning from our other card, I've gone ahead and trimmed off that piece of our card. And again, double check that nothing is going to, even if it goes that far, it's not going to hit any of the foam tape. And then the next thing we'll do is we'll create some marshmallows on some sticks. I've taken my pencil and on a piece of the white cardstock, I have sketched out marshmallows on a stick, and I am going to color my sticks. And then I'm going to try some snow effects on the marshmallows to make them look more puffy. I'm going to use Nellie's Choice Snow Effect. So you can see it puts a little texture on it. Colored the marshmallows using some light and dark of the browns. I use the darker for the sticks and the lighter for the burnt parts with a little bit of the black. What we're going to do is I will glue these onto the back, and then you'll open that up. For the inside sentiment, I'm using Karen Barniston's Happy Birthday along with the Happy Birthday shadow and also the Catherine label pop-up. And I've taken this L-shaped piece and I've glued the box together and I've folded all the other mechanisms. And I've determined that it needs to go at least this far up so that when it closes, this won't interfere with any of that. Go ahead and glue that in. I could cut a little black piece to put over there. And here's our finished card for Craft Roulette, episode 273. It says, "Dear sweet lady, wishing you some more fun." That's fun with two N's. It says, "Slide off this belt, then turn the wheels to toast your marshmallows." And on the back, it has additional instructions. To open this trifold card, fold back the marshmallow sticks and lift the left edge first, then the right. So we'll slide off our belt. And there are our marshmallows, and it said to turn the wheels. It looks like we have flames that burst up depending on how fast you turn. And our little marshmallows kind of wiggle. But to open the card, it said fold those back, and then open the left edge, and then the right edge. And there's Happy Birthday. Places to write our message. And all the little white gel pen dots can be stars. They can be ashes that are kind of flicking around. You'll notice I've got it on the fire part too. And the back of our card, we've got our sticks, and we signed it. And there we are. So it's a card for a lady. It has candy wrapper colors of the hot tamales, which are all those reds and oranges and yellows. And we have some of the Hershey's chocolate colors that we'd be using for the rest of the s'mores. So those are our basic colors. And the camping element is obviously the campfire and roasting marshmallows, toasting them. And our belt is our sliding belt that just goes back on over all of that so that you get a hint of what this is, but you're not sure until you get it all the way open and see it work. I hope you found some inspiration in this card and enjoyed seeing how it was made. And we'll see you next Friday when Craft Roulette is live again. Bye-bye.